telling me about your 28th anniversary. So when is
Yeah.
that?
Oh yeah, well that's the Death Row Records 20th anniversary. The label was formed actually in 1990, end of 1991, so we're celebrating it in 2012. The good thing about it having its anniversary is what I've been really, outside of really focusing on the music and the artists, is reminding people that think about the negative side of Death Row. Two things. One, anytime you hear the music in the club or in your car or something like that, you tend to enjoy it and you don't think about the
Right.
negativity. But also, on the negative side, there's been none in 15 plus years. So people forget about that. But you can be in a conversation talking about the negative side of Death Row and all that stuff, and then a song comes on.
Right.
So it's never been a point that anybody can really truly say that the music itself has had a negative effect. So I'm glad that at this point we're able to remind people of that and the fact that we can honestly say that nothing bad has happened in a long time. So therefore, if we really focus on the music and the artist, I was actually there at the beginning, and I feel like right now, when I left, I'm actually back on track from that point because there wasn't any problems when I left the label. So I'm
Right.
at this point, and we can focus on the artists, we can focus on the music, as well as there was a lot of artists around that didn't get a chance to come out, and I'm able to put them out and show people how they were valuable to Death Row because a lot of the songs they like, these artists were on it. They just never got their chances. So they're not like has been, they were never were. So now we can at least give them a fair chance to at least try. I can't
Right.
guarantee anything, but at least it's all good. We can try.
A lot of artists I hear they're basically put on a shelf, and then they see other artists pass them by. So that's definitely a good thing what you're doing.
Well,
Um,
in this case too, these people were put on a shelf before bankruptcy. While things were going good, they were there helping to make this thing a success, but they were shelves. If you would see our warehouse and see, we got thousands of tapes.
right.
And that in itself is unfair. So their shelving wasn't a result of a bankruptcy or the label coming to an end because they were recording during its peak period. So it's
Okay.
just it's just a case of the label went pretty much one dimensional and got stuck into the Dre, the Snoop, and the Tupac. When the label is far more versatile than that, and so are the people. So I do feel really good that I don't have to focus on Dre, Snoop, and Tupac now to
Right.
get the real death row message across. Technically, the only thing at this point that's negative about death row could be considered the name
The
because
name. I was gonna ask you
it's
that.
death row. But other than that, we can treat that as just a marketing thing. At that time, it had the great marketing value and all of this, so it's fine. But other than that, people don't need to read more into it than what it is. It's a word.
Well, when you purchased it, and I know you come from a label that was called Wide Awake,
Yeah.
and which is kind of a uplifting name, and then you have Death Row. Did you ever think about changing the name?
If we change the name or anything like that, that would be false. I would be trying to hide or running away from something. I think the correct course is keep the name because the name itself never hurt anybody and just reintroducing people to the brand. So it's about Death Row, which is the name of the label. We're about the artists and all of that. So we're not hiding from nothing. The past is the past. And also, realistically, when you look at it, the most of the problems that were not caused by the artists. They were caused by the outside people.
Right.
Management or bodyguards and things like that. So it was never the artist. So the
Entourage.
stigma comes from non-artists.
When you signed off, on the dotted line to get in this label, did you inherit any artists with?
Actually, buying it out of bankruptcy, what you get is you get all of the ownership, all the masters, the copyrights,
Right.
and the contracts. So no, we did not get any artists. So it's technically what's called a catalog label. But anytime I put out a record or do anything, I do address the artists and get them involved, so we can make sure that they can help promote. So therefore, revenue is bigger. The thing is a lot of times, just at first coming out, since to the best of my knowledge, they hadn't been paid royalties or they've been ripped off bad, there was skepticism.
Right.
So the first year, while we get the business straight and figure out what we got, they're probably seeing us as the same people. But once we got everything straightened out and started paying royalties, which again I'm sure was never done before, they started to trust a little bit. I can
Okay.
understand why they could be a little leery about anything with their former label when they were there, and they were the reason why the label was so successful and made all these millions, and they got nothing. So, so reaching out to them, it's a process. We didn't want to just come out the gate and say, hey, come on back when we knew that we weren't in the position until we saw what we had.
Right.
So, but we did let people know the whole time. It's like, look, we're gonna make sure that we honor commitments. We gotta make sure that people get their royalties. But also, what they had to understand is we can't pay them from 1996 from now because our debt only occurs from the time of purchase. When you buy something out of bankruptcy, you don't pick up debt. So from the time that we got it, we've been paying people, and as we get more information and things corrected, we've been adding other people to the list of people that are getting paid. So early on, there was a lot of complaints and things because no one knew what was going on the business side. But now, quite honestly, people actually like us.
Yeah.
And it sounds like I'm a little shocked. And the reason why I am is because at the beginning they didn't, and again they saw it as death row. Well, you know what? We're wide awake, and we're death row. Death row is one of our companies, but we're not that death row. We have a different philosophy. We're about the artist. We're about, you know, I prefer that if no one ever knew me, I'm fine with that because it's not about me. I'm not making the records. I'm not writing the songs. So
Right.
the focus needs to be on the artist, the label, the music, and the potential and all the things that it could have been, should have been, and it's gonna be.
Right. Because I know Dre has, his own artist now. He has 50. He has Eminem. Has he partnered in anything as far as like pushing anything forward?
At this point, no. As far as partnering in, no one has, and that's not a bad thing because they're with other labels and other business.
Before it was like a West Coast thing, or are you open to all artists?
No, we're open to all artists. Here's the thing, the West Coast thing is where the label originated, but Death Row is a worldwide brand. So I address the world. I'm from Detroit, so
Okay.
I'm not from the West Coast anyway.
Yeah.
I like the climate out here, but I'm more, I love New York. I love Miami. I love everywhere. So no, we're good music comes from everywhere. It
Exactly.
can't just come from the West. I mean, I look at the history of hip hop and rap. I mean, New York had it going on in the '80s and all that stuff. Made people step their game up. Then the West Coast jumped in there and went on the little gangster thing in New York, came in and jumped on that and perfected that too. So it doesn't matter where you're from as long as you got something to say. The only problem I have is that it's not evolving as fast enough, and people are tending now to do what the last person did. I like it. I like it when it changes up and there's some new stuff. I'd like to see. Matter of fact, I'd like to see a country western rap group. Come out and spit from that southern perspective. And I'm
Right.
not talking like
Like
the
a
dirty
Nelly.
South thing, but like I'm talking like an Alabama or Arkansas
Right.
or something. That could be interesting in itself because urban stuff comes from your environment. So it's about your perspective and how you see things. So I would be fine with
Yeah, but
that.
how are you branding these artists that you're working with?
Me personally, I choose not to brand an artist. I like to find out who the artist is and who they are. If we brand them and try to give them something, then we got the wrong artist because we're
Right.
trying to make them be something they're not. So I sit down and talk to an artist first. They need to know who they are. If they do, then
Exactly.
that allows me to help them get to where they need to go and create them. Otherwise, I can see them one way and they're another way. So you're making an unnatural situation. So.
Right.
It's realistically, it's just like a relationship. If you're in a relationship, you don't need to be looking at somebody else because you got everything there.
Right.
So with an artist, as you got the right artist, you don't need to try to change anything.
It's about the anniversary. Are you doing any events? Are you?
Yeah, I'll fill you in real quickly on a few things. So this year, being the anniversary, we got right now. There's probably going to be 6 releases, but 4 of them are already finished right now. So
Mhm.
we got a couple compilations that are coming out, a part A and a part B. A lot of the artists on Death Row that people know about but didn't get a chance to hear. So it's a sampling, which helps to tell that 20th anniversary story quite well. And there's going to be, and even the artwork on there is shots of our vault because we have this legendary mythical vault that people can't seem to get the grasp of how large it is. And when I explain it, it's like think at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark and you see that big warehouse. It's like that. So they'll get to see this as well as see some of these names on some of these album of these boxes and reels that they know or didn't see. So we gotta have that. We're gonna have an unreleased Dog Pound record. We're going to have Snoop Greatest Hits with some unreleased songs on it and some videos. And then also coming out next month, we have Death Row Rap Rivals, which is an application game where
Hmm.
you can take these tracks, mix these tracks, and you can rap against people around the world. And I think
Okay.
what's really cool about that is two things. One, you can do it from an anonymous standpoint, so if you're not that good,
Right.
nobody's going to know it's you. But if you're good, then they can move on. But also, you can get an idea of the other cultures and see how you relate with other people in other countries and things like that. So,
Great.
it's promotionally it's good, but also the people to connect. Because in this day and age, for some reason, a lot of people don't necessarily leave their house.
Yeah.
But this is also another way to get out.
Working with like BET to do like some type of, like documentary.
Actually, we are going to be putting together a retrospect. So it's going to be a worldwide campaign. So in different countries, there are going to be different things going on.
Okay.
But I'm talking to people, some various directors, some other things too, to put together some retrospects and documentaries. I've talked to a lot of artists have agreed to give commentary. I'm going to be coming out to your side of the country into New York too. Got a lot of friends there because they can also give commentary on what happened when Death Row came out. I remember when Deep Cover came out. I actually worked on that project. When that came out,
Hmm.
everybody here in New York, everybody was feeling that 187 on that account. There was none of that bull,
Right.
that went down. So and me right now, I want people too to see that this ain't that death row. That stuff has been gone a long time. And also, in this retrospective year, I would like to do some things with some of my New York friends too, and show the world that that was 15 years ago. That don't exist.
Exactly.
All right, I'm John Payne. I'm the president of Wide Awake Entertainment Group. We handle Death Row Records, and I've just had the pleasure of having a great chat with Terry on from Popular by Grind. And I think everybody needs to check this show out as often as possible because it's actually very informative. It's a positive vibe. It's Popular by Grind too. The name is appropriate. I had a very good time, and you guys really do need to. Anytime it's on, she's on, you need to be there because you're going to get something good out of it.